I think that what was very impressive about Jessica was, her focus on the mission and being able to decline, a $10 million donation at the very early stages just because it did not align with the mission of the organization at that time. So that was really, the definition of focus. Being really, mission oriented and understand what you're there for. That was very impressive.
Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced. The best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. It's 2020, so that means that we all continue to navigate our way through these strange, disorienting times. And as always, I hope this podcast, I hope this place, this time in your day, in your week, becomes a time where you can step back to take a deep breath and that the content engages your mind and heart and helps you navigate your way through the world in positive ways. This is a place, a space for you to be able to take that step back, to think, to reflect, and this is supposed to be something that's breathing oxygen into you into positive ways. So I'm more convinced than ever that authentic leadership and compelling cultures are needed more than ever in the world. So thanks to everyone out there who is tuning in, subscribing, listening. For those of you that share, that rate it 5 stars, leave a nice review, all of those things help amplify these messages further in the world. So I thank you. Today, this is a special edition of the podcast, today. You're going to hear some highlights, some quotes, some sound bites from last year's 2019 Thermostat Cultures Live event that I host in my hometown of Columbus, Ohio. For the last 4 years, this has been a powerful day of development and a refueling for many leaders across industries. It started, after my book Thermostat Cultures came out and really with just a desire for me to get a bunch of amazing, cool people from different organizations and disciplines, an eclectic group of people all in the same room, and with the focus on what does it mean to be an authentic leader in the world today and how we can proactively create compelling cultures for others. Obviously, it was built off the momentum of that book, Thermostat Cultures, but it's been amazing, the community of people and the impact that day, that in-person event has been. Well, this year, of course, due to COVID and the general nature of 2020, the event is being moved to an all-virtual format on Friday, November 6th, 2020. Friday, November 6th, 2020, an all-virtual interactive platform. It's going to be powerful, interactive, action-oriented, and solutions-focused for the day. It's going to be include, obviously, me, but I'm also going to be joined by other global thought leaders. I hope you'll check out thermostatcultureslive.com, thermostatcultureslive.com for a last-minute seat for you, your team, or your entire organization. As you hear me say time and time again, conversations are the currency for change. So we're going to have conversations on Friday, November 6th as a part of this interactive virtual platform that are needed in the world right now. And I hope you will come join us and join me and the amazing lineup of other voices that I'm having join me. So enjoy the sounds from last year's profound event. You'll hear my voice, of course, but you'll also hear voices from people like Jessica Jackley, the co-founder of Kiva, the social enterprise unicorn that organization has become. Greg Oden, former #1 NBA draft pick. Cameron Mitchell from Cameron Mitchell Restaurants. A powerful collection of humans in the room. So enjoy today's special edition, and I hope you'll check out thermostatcultureslive.com.
This is about a conversation that we're having together, that we're all participating in the creation of this cup of coffee that we're all sharing here today. One of the great joys about this event and things that I'm excited about again this year is to take the things we're thinking about and this content that we've now just started to put out in front of us, but then to share other voices and other stories of people that have been amazing leaders and or been a part of cultures and also are not perfect, that are also on this journey to discover who it is that they're trying to be and what is the type of leader they want to be and the type of culture that they want to be a part of creating. And so I'm thrilled to get to share the caliber of people, and we're all lucky to be in the room and to share these kind of stories with each other.
What stood out to me that really grabbed me was, I think, I would call it the brutal honesty of Greg Oden. You know, here's a guy that hit a pinnacle in life and fell off that pinnacle and recognized what he needed to do to turn his life around, and he's honest about it. And you know, naked. I guess that's naked honesty, and I really appreciate that. And I think that's something going forward that's a lot of people will like to hear.
But it wasn't bad. I grew up in the Boys and Girls Clubs. You know, that's all I did. I would just go there every day. That was our after-school thing. I was on the court, and you know, when you start doing something every day, you kind of get good at it. I guess that's how I started playing basketball a little bit.
And when was it that you made that connection in your own mind, or at least you saw, like, I'm pretty good at this?
Well, I started playing in the 4th grade. Didn't get good till the 7th grade. So it's funny, my first basket when I started playing basketball was for the other team. So I was so terrible, I never got the ball. And I guess they pressed one day. And that's why I was open, because they knew they was going to steal it from me. So literally I get it, and I just shoot it. But, you know, they were just getting it to me to get it down the court because I was the only one open. But I definitely enjoy that story. I remember running down Southern Break, and they was like, what the, you know?
What are you then, from that moment, I think you dunked for the first time in 7th grade, is that right?
Yeah, just practicing.
So did I, by the way.
I mean, you got to think about this. So 5th grade, at the end of 5th grade, I was 6 feet tall because I remember my teacher was 5'11". 6th grade, I was 6'6". 7th grade, I was 6'7". And they were like, dude, like, you should try to dunk the ball. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, oh, yeah, I should. Huh, I'm pretty tall, right? You know? And I remember when I first dunked, and then I first dunked in the game, like, now that I think about it, it was like something that just went off in my head. And it was like, dude, this is fun. It embarrasses the other person. Just keep on doing this over and over again. You know, something might come of it.
So you then, this meteoric rise from that point, where in high school you started getting all the accolades, and again, as I said earlier, the only other 2-time Gatorade National Player of the Year in high school was LeBron James. So you start getting all this. What are some of the things that you're most proud of in your climb of success?
Most proud of, I mean, it had to be the Gatorade Player of the Year. So I remember with that, you get to go to the ESPYs, and the actual National Gatorade Player of the Year gets to be shown on TV. And I remember the first year I went as a junior, I didn't win, but to have that experience. And I remember junior in high school, I'm in shorts and like a tear-off shirt and like one of those string backpacks. And I remember Baron Davis talking to me. He was like, yeah, Gio, you know, take my limo. And I'm like, I'm a junior, first time in L.A. I get in the limo, I'm like, I don't know where the hell I'm going. Like, I just got out. I was like, you go ahead. But now when I think about it, I wish I was just like, take me somewhere. You know? I don't know. So Gatorade Player of the Year, Naismith Player of the Year, Parade All-American as a junior and senior, 3 state championships, a whole bunch of wins in AAU national championships.
When Greg was talking about the fact that here he was 6'7", and someone had to suggest to him, have you ever thought making a dunk? I mean, to everybody else, that would seem so obvious, right? You're tall. I don't know what his arm span was in 6th grade, but I'm sure it was much longer than even the average adult man, right? And so I think sometimes as leaders, we see potential in people and think it's obvious to them and might even become frustrated that they don't go for it, not understanding that we need to point it out for them, that alignment that Jason talks about, that alignment's the role of the leader, and sometimes aligning people to a mission, to a cause or whatever, takes us pointing out, hey, you can do this, have you ever tried? And just when he said that, it was just this little almost offhanded thing he mentioned, but I thought, man, that's powerful. And so it just reminded me that as a leader, I need to constantly challenge the people that work for me. I run a nonprofit, so we have volunteers too, constantly challenging them to make the dunk, because it's not obvious to everybody the potential that we see in them.
But as far as, what was challenging about 1, 2, 3, or 4, the single biggest challenge is I was by myself. We have 5,000, we call them associates, employees today, and now I don't do anything myself. Back then I did everything. I wore every single hat, and it was extremely challenging. And
so that shift from being the person that wore all the hats and did everything to then the empowering a team and starting to figure out what role you needed to now play as the growth happened.
Yeah.
And there was a question earlier about then the dividing of those strengths and finding people that could run with portions of the business. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
absolutely. I mean, in the beginning, I was 95% managing and 5% leading, and today I'm 95, 98% leading and 2% managing maybe, and I really don't manage anything anymore. It's all leadership from here on in. But so yeah, I've had to morph myself along the way, and but I operate on a premise of trust, and I trust everybody until they prove me otherwise, and I believe everybody will do a great job until you prove me otherwise. And so I just started giving people rope, and the more I gave them, the more they wanted. And so Dave Miller, our President Chief Operating Officer, was a general manager for us, and been with me 23 years, and he just kept wanting more and more. And there's several other stories like that within the company. If you walk around our home office, a majority of people have been there 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and along the way with us. We have, we like to say nobody leaves. It's the old Hotel California. You can check in, but you can't check out. So.
We all get caught up. Today's a busy world, right? And we all get caught up in the moment or in the multiple moments of work and the excitement, the energy of trying to grow a business. And you're doing that day in and day out. And every once in a while, you do have to just step back. You have to take that time to think about how are we growing that business? How are we working that business and developing it and developing our people to take it to the next level? And spend the time to fix that and not just keep on doing what you're doing, but rethink it through. And it is just stepping back, taking that breath, and re-examining.
Well, I've been asked this question thousands of times, and that is, where do you get such great people, and how do you train so well your people so well? And people think we have some sort of magic, and that's how we stay above the competition. I don't ever worry about our competition. It's like I said, it's like the sun coming up. It's going to be there. I can't do anything about it. Nothing. I don't ever think about it. We just focus on what we do. But the difference in why we have such great people and deliver such great service and have such great training is because of our culture and values. That every other restaurant company in the USA has manuals and blah, blah, and they have their culture and so forth. But our secret weapon is our culture and values, and that's how we deliver it day in and day out across the country. Our culture and values in Beverly Hills is one of the best in our company. It doesn't matter if it's in Columbus or not. And it's all over the country.
Put in those goals and figure out what you're going to do for the next period of time, and whether your step back being, every month, every quarter, probably every quarter more right. But you need to do that on a regular basis to say, okay, what's next and what's next. It's even like Cameron Mitchell's comments about he's now in his fourth quarter and he's not got his new set of goals. You always got that. Now my guess is probably another 2 years, 3 years, you're going to say, okay, now I'm in my last eighth, and he's going to have those new set of goals because you kind of keep on incrementalizing that, but you always go to the next level. You can only go so far.
Finally, the fifth pillar is what is our goal, right? Businesses, organizations have to have goals, and we have lots of goals. Goals come and go. They change all the time, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever they are. There's one goal that stays the same 24/7, 365. Never wavers, and that is to be better today where we were yesterday and better tomorrow than we are today. By simply understanding that is that you cannot be better at something today than you were yesterday and better at something tomorrow than you are today without working at it, without pushing yourself forward, without improving, right? And without bettering ourselves and our practices. So we work at it every day, and that means we don't accept the status quo, and you have to change in order to be better. So we have a culture of change that permeates the organization. Some organizations are fearful of change or don't react well to change. Our organization is very, very adaptable to change. Okay?
I really appreciated the candor and the authentic speakers that were here today with us. I just really felt like they spoke from their heart and really gave their true guidance to us in the room.
So, again, about that team, when we've talked about this and when I hear you talk about that team, the number of people that also, there was talent on that team, yes, a lot of talent. But people took on different roles, were willing to take a back seat, were willing to say, I will play a different role. And together then, the culture that was created was this, no, there is a goal that's bigger than just us winning awards. Is that accurate?
It is. And I don't think we even did it with the national championship in mind. We kind of did it because we wanted to play together. We wanted to be the best team that we could be. And we just knew, like, we were friends. I mean, Ivan and myself, I tried to get along with everybody on that team. It doesn't usually happen. But somehow, we all built a relationship. And towards the end of the season, it was like we wanted to do this for each other. What was best for that team, we was all willing to do.
The authenticity of all the remarks and how you have a perception of someone. I mean, I knew 2 of the 3 speakers coming into this event, but my perception of them changed drastically based on their remarks and the fact that just the way they look at life as a whole and what they practice in their own life comes through in their business. It was really refreshing to hear.
And one day I was having a tough day. I remember this day. I was sitting there. I was just crying. I was drinking. And I remember Coach Mata called me randomly. And he said, we had a long conversation, about 20 minutes. And he was like, Greg, just come to practice. And I didn't come the next day because I wanted to sober up. And I came, and then I came the next day. And next thing I know, I was literally going to every practice. And then that summer came around, and some guy reached out to me about the degree completion program at Ohio State. I had nothing else going on, so I enrolled in that. And so now I'm taking classes. Then I went full-time, and then I was helping out the basketball team. So for me, it was kind of... when I got drafted, I got out my path. All I knew was graduate high school, you go to college, you graduate college, you get a job, start a family. That was the lifeline I always knew. But in college, I went somewhere else. But when I got back in that line, it kind of it gave me a schedule for one. It kept me around basketball, which I loved, which was the thing that made me feel sane always. So giving me a schedule, going to school, gave me something to do. Just kind of gave me a purpose. And I'm the guy, like, if I need to do this, this, and this, I can do that. When I have to decide what it is, I struggle with that a little bit. So to have that schedule of classes and to be able to be around basketball, it was kind of something for me to look forward to, that I wasn't going down that negative path anymore.
Hello, everybody. Many of you have heard me talking about the upcoming exciting virtual event on November 6th, Thermostat Cultures Live, and we are just about 1 week away, November 6th, 2020, for Thermostat Cultures Live. This year, a virtual event. You know that I've been talking about this. There's never been a time in the world where it's been more important for us to be talking about what does authentic leadership in the world really look like, and how do we develop our minds and hearts to help create the compelling cultures that we need. For the last few years, this has been an in-person gathering of leaders from across industries, and have joined me and other thought leaders from around the globe for this Thermostat Cultures Live event. And this year we're going to be online virtually. In years past, I've had amazing people like Howard Behar, former president of Starbucks, Jenny Britton Bauer, founder of Jenny's Ice Cream, Shane Battier, NBA legend, Jessica Jackley, one of the co-founders of Kiva.org, Cameron Mitchell from Cameron Mitchell Restaurants, Greg Oden, former NBA #1 draft pick, and many, many, many more. It's been a powerful, inspiring, action-oriented, and solutions-focused experience that has impacted teams and organizations near and far. And so this year, I hope you'll visit thermostatcultureslive.com. And this year, the virtual event is going to be powerful, interactive, this virtual experience that will reach further and impact more individuals and organizations. I invite you to experience it as an individual or as an entire team or company. I know many teams and companies that are going to be experiencing it virtually together and then joining together to help carry these conversations and learnings into their culture. So please visit thermostatcultureslive.com to register you and your team, and also see the other great voices that will be joining me this year. And I hope you'll join me in setting the temperature for authentic leadership and compelling culture in the world today and in our organizations. thermostatcultureslive.com.
My name is João Simões, and I am the president and CEO of Davenport Aviation. It's my first time here, and I'm enjoying it very much. I think that what was very impressive about Jessica was, her focus on the mission and being able to decline, a $10 million donation at the very early stages, just because it did not align with the mission of the organization at that time. So that was really, the definition of focus. Being really, mission-oriented and understand what you're there for. That was very impressive.
Love you guys are doing it at Kiva. I don't know. And it was a phone call. But love you doing it at Kiva. And I work for blah, blah, blah company, like top 10, probably top 5, like tech behemoths in Silicon Valley at the time. And he's like, we want to put $10 million into your little project. And I was like, well, that's nice. That's like all we've ever done since our existence, like 2 years of work when you count the pilot. And I asked him a little bit more what he meant, and he was like, yeah. I just, you guys can figure out who to get it to. It's fine, and then let me know when it comes back. And I was like, oh, that's so nice, but no, like that's not what we do. Could you maybe, you have a lot of employees. Would you want to divide that up and give your employees gift certificates? Or like your future customers, anybody, like give them each $25 and they can have this experience of connecting and through lending and everything. And at the time, we didn't have any other creative ways to utilize the money, and that's fine because we were focused. You gotta be freaking focused at the beginning and always. So long story short, and he didn't want to pay our rent forever or other creative things I could do at the time. Long story short, I said, well, that's very nice, but it's not a fit for us because and I told him no thanks. And I gave him a handful of other organizations to call, which he promptly connected with, and they thanked me. But basically, had he put his money, dumped it into our system, would have clogged it up, $10 million worth of $25, $50, $100 bits that would have human beings behind it that were lined up, just waiting for our servers to be better, to come lend. And we would have rather have all those people connecting through their $10 million and then beyond, and telling their friends and all that stuff, versus one big corporate pile that would be nameless, faceless money that could do a lot of good, but could do a lot of good in a lot of ways, so in a lot of other places. So we said no thanks to that because it wasn't what we decided we wanted.
You said no to $10 million, even though that was all they had raised to that point, because it didn't fit the mission.
Yes.
That you didn't feel like it was about connecting, you felt like it was about a transaction.
It was.
It was really amazing to hear the speakers from all different walks of life and different experiences. One thing that really inspired me was one speaker who talked about finding something that's bigger than yourself. I know that's something that I really want to think about and aim to do.
So we're talking about authentic leadership today, and taking the time to calibrate our own thermostats and think about, well, at this present state in the world, what is it? What is the type of leader that you want to be, and what does that temperature look like for you? How do you describe current day? What type of leader are you hoping to be in the world?
Yeah. I'm noticing lately in my work, I'm noticing the clarity, like how important it is to have clarity of vision and focus on what you want to get done, because there's always competing priorities. There's always another thing you could do. And again, there are a lot of really good ideas, but what are the best ideas? What are the right ideas? What are the things to double down on and do with excellence and speed? And what are the things to really invest in, and what else do you not? I think having clarity of vision and being able to kind of play that out and see the ramifications of that with the singular focused path you might lead your team to pursue. I think it feels like moral clarity. It just feels like clarity showing up every day with that sort of, I think, presence. And for me, there's like a lot about being calm, not just frantic busyness for the sake of. Like coming to work every day with that clarity is something I'm trying really hard to do, and I think is one of the best things I can offer.
Jessica really resonated with me about when you're clear and you have clarity on your mission, that you can say no and yes with the same ease. And as you know, in the working world or in life, as people pleasers, and we're constantly saying yes to everything, it really resonated with me, and something I want to work on personally after leaving for today.
Well, from the outside observer standpoint, from the very beginning, but then also watching that grow, at the center of it has been the conviction around the pillars of the company. Yep. And getting clear, again, some of the stuff we were talking about earlier is this: do you have language that drives the behavior that you want? So can you even describe the culture that you want? Not just we have restaurants, but how is it that we're going to show up to do the work? And the pillars and your core values seem to have been at the heart of everything. Talk about those pillars and values and kind of how that's played a role in the culture shaping.
So I was really blessed. I don't know how I was... how I did this or how I had the foresight to do it, but the very first thing, so when I left my company July 11th of 1992 to start working on Cameron Mitchell Restaurants in my one-bedroom apartment up at the Continent, I knew I wanted to create a restaurant company based on a set of culture and values. And so I spent the first 30 days in my apartment in summertime. I remember it vividly, and windows open and shorts and a T-shirt and writing and drafting our company culture and values. And so I had poster boards up on the wall, books everywhere, drafting, redrafting, putting up statements, and just kind of pulling it all together. And finally got it all together, and then I set out on a course of building a restaurant company based on that culture and values. I wasn't trying to build just one restaurant. If I was just trying to open a restaurant, the first thing I probably would have done is go try to find a location. I didn't even touch that until I wanted to birth a company. So, and I want this company to be around 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years long after I'm in a big restaurant in the sky. And the way we're going to do that is be a values-driven organization. So and that culture really has not changed. It's morphed a little bit. I heard you talking about changing, but a lot of how we've implemented it has changed and measured it and so forth has changed. But the real core culture and values has not really changed. I want to have one last closing piece. I was going to say about the culture and values. It is the screen by which we measure everything. I've asked the question thousands of times. What does that have to do with great people delivering genuine hospitality? What does that have to do with being better today than we were yesterday? And it is it's really how everything we do. If something comes up and it's not in line with our culture and values, then we don't do it. And so that becomes, it's just, it is in everything. I just can't talk about it enough. It's the air we breathe. It's everything. But in my mind, it has to be at that level, or else it just turns in, like a lot of companies, just another piece of paper on the wall or another something in the handbook or something. But it's a living, breathing thing that we need to take care of, tend to. It's been our most important thing that we do.
That's why you are at Thermostat Cultures Live, my friend, because of that. That it's a breathing thing, and you are inspiring to us, and with that clarity of, okay, let's not just put pieces of paper on the wall. Let's go breathe oxygen into it and bring it to life every single day, and then keep asking the question, what's the next thing? What's next? Thank you for being with us. Clap for camera.
That wraps up live interviews and shared stories from our guests from 2019's Thermostat Cultures Live event, where we featured Cameron Mitchell, Jessica Jackley, and Greg Oden. Be sure to visit thermostatcultureslive.com or jasonvbarger.com to learn about this year's virtual Thermostat Cultures Live event on Friday, November 6th. Join me and other thought leaders from around the globe for an amazing virtual event. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with a full episode next week. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using. And share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to your organization, or you have a question or comment about this podcast, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we all are ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.